History is often made up of stories and people we no longer see, but photography has given us rare glimpses of the people who shaped the past in ways we can still feel today. Some people were born in the time of oil paintings and writing pens, and they never thought they'd live long enough to be photographed. Even so, their pictures are still around, a link between the past and the present. These rare photos bring history to life in a way that books could never do. They show war heroes, political giants, cultural pioneers, and lost stars. Prepare for Past Paradise to show you the interesting people from history who lived long enough to be photographed and explain why their stories are still important today. Samuel Morse, the visionary behind the telegraph revolution. Samuel Morse was born in Charlestown, Massachusetts on April 27, 1791. He was an innovative artist and scientist whose work in information technology changed the world. Morse initially wanted to be a painter, but his interest in electricity led him to create the electric telegraph. This revolutionary device sent electrical messages over wires to allow people to communicate with each other over long distances. With Alfred Vail and Leonard Gale, Morse improved his telegraph system and developed Morse code to send information using dots and dashes. His most famous message was, "What hath God wrought?" on May 24, 1844. It started a new era in communication around the world. Even though some people didn't believe him, Morse paid Congress to build the first telegraph line between Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. His idea became famous quickly, and telegraph networks were established throughout the United States and elsewhere. By the end of the 1800s, telegraph lines connected countries and transformed business, media, and personal contact. Morse's impact goes beyond the inventions he created. His work laid the groundwork for modern communications, affecting tools like the internet and the telephone. Even though the telegraph is mostly a thing of the past, Morse's efforts are still significant to developing global connections. Communication technology keeps getting better because of his vision and creativity. Abraham Lincoln, the legacy of a visionary leader. Abraham Lincoln was the 16th President of the United States. He is still remembered as one of the most important people in American history. Lincoln was born on February 12, 1809, in Hardin County, Kentucky. He came from a poor family but led the country through the most troubled time, the Civil War. During his presidency, he never wavered in his determination to keep the Union together and end slavery. He made history in 1863 when he released the Emancipation Proclamation, which freed slaves in Confederate states. The 13th Amendment, which ended slavery in the United States for good, was primarily made possible by Lincoln's guidance. His 1863 Gettysburg Address, which emphasized freedom and national unity, is still one of the most potent speeches in American history. Lincoln faced a lot of political resistance, but his ability to deal with difficult situations made him known as a leader who could do anything. Tragically, John Wilkes Booth killed him at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. on April 14, 1865, ending his short life. His death was a significant loss for the country, but his memory lives on. In 2025, Lincoln's achievements will still be remembered at several events, such as symposiums and parties, to mark his 216th birthday. His ideas about fairness and equality are still important in American politics, inspiring people worldwide. Sitting Bull, the resilient Lakota leader. The famous Hunkpapa Lakota chief, Sitting Bull, still signifies Native American strength and struggle. He was born in 1831 and became renowned as a brave fighter and spiritual leader. He led his people through rough times as U.S. expansion put them under more and more pressure. He won the Battle of Little Bighorn in 1876, his most famous win. He led his troops to victory over General George Custer's forces. Sitting Bull had many victories, but was exiled to Canada and finally gave up to U.S. officials in 1881. After that, he joined Buffalo Bill's Wild West show and taught people about the Lakota culture nationwide. But because he didn't follow U.S. rules, he was tragically killed in 1890 when he was being tried for arrest. Even in 2025, Sitting Bull's services to Native American history are remembered through training programs, museum displays, and ceremonies. He had an impact on groups that fight for indigenous rights and traditional protection that began after he died. His steadfast dedication to the rights and customs of his people is still a strong example of the strength of Native American history. People remember Sitting Bull not only as a fighter, but also as a creative leader whose influence can still be seen in how people talk about indigenous identity and justice today. Frederick Douglass, the enduring legacy of a freedom fighter. Frederick Douglass is still one of the most important people in American history, even though he was born into slavery in 1818. His story of how he went from being a slave to a famous activist, author, and politician continues to inspire people today. Douglass fled slavery in 1838 and spent the rest of his life fighting for the rights of African Americans. He used his powerful speaking and writing skills to fight against slavery. When it came out in 1845, his autobiography, Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave, gave a first-person account of how horrible slavery was and became a classic piece of abolitionist literature. In 2025, Douglass's legacy will be celebrated in several ways. One such way is the Douglass O'Connell Global Internship, which allows students to study social justice in Ireland in honor of Douglass's historic visit to the country. Additionally, #Douglass Week 2025 will be held in Boston, Massachusetts, and will include talks, plays, and art shows honoring his work for human rights. His impact goes beyond history books. It still shapes how people discuss race, justice, and equality today. Douglass wrote and spoke about a society that is more open to everyone, and students and campaigners are still inspired by his ideas. His lasting influence reminds us that the fight for justice never ends, and his words continue to lead people in their efforts to make the world more fair. Mark Twain, the enduring influence of America's greatest humorist. Mark Twain, whose real name was Samuel Langhorne Clemens, was born in 1835 and is still one of the most famous writers in American history. His books, like The Adventures of Tom Sawyer and The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, still impact writing and everyday speech. In the 1800s, Twain was a significant figure because of his quick wit and deep understanding of people. His criticisms of racism, empire, and hypocrisy are still important today. The Mark Twain Prize for American Humor is given yearly to honor his memory. In 2025, it was given to Conan O'Brien. Twain's impact goes beyond writing. Comedians, writers, and thinkers still get ideas from his satirical view of politics and society. His famous quote, "Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness," shows how much he believed in opening people's minds to new ideas. This is still a valid idea today. Twain's works are often brought up again in academic talks, and his influence on American society is honored at literary events and museum shows. He will always be remembered for being able to combine fun with deep social criticism. It is now 2025, and Twain's influence is being kept alive and used by researchers and artists to solve problems in the present day. His writings still make people think and laugh, showing that great literature is timeless. Vincent Van Gogh, the timeless influence of a visionary artist. The Dutch post-impressionist painter Vincent van Gogh is still one of the most famous artists ever. He was born in 1853, and his powerful and moving works fascinate people worldwide. Van Gogh's legacy will be celebrated in 2025 with big shows like Van Gogh, the Rulin Family Portraits, which will open at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston in March and run through September before going to the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam. Some of his most personal photos are shown in this show, which is about his close friendship with postman Joseph Rulin and his family. Japan will also host Van Gogh's Home, the Van Gogh Museum, The Painter's Legacy, The Family Collection, The Ongoing Story, a show with rare works from the Amsterdam Museum that will stop in Osaka and Tokyo. These shows show how Van Gogh's art changed over time and how he dealt with personal problems. They give us new ideas about how he made art. His impact goes beyond art galleries. It can be seen in the work of modern artists and in the engaging digital experiences that bring his vivid brushstrokes to life. Van Gogh died in a terrible accident in 1890, but his work lives on, showing his timeless vision. His use of color and movement to show raw feeling makes him a key figure in art history. The year 2025 will be another year when people worldwide celebrate his genius. Nikola Tesla, the visionary who made the future electric. Nikola Tesla, a scientist and engineer born in Serbia and later moved to the United States, is still one of the most important people in science and technology. His critical work on alternating current, AC electricity, changed the way power is distributed, making it easier to get and more efficient. Tesla made more than just electrical achievements. His work with radio waves, robots, and wireless energy transfer paved the way for modern innovations. Even now, in 2025, Tesla's work continues to spur progress in energy technology, especially in wireless power sharing. Researchers are looking again at his massive Wardenclyffe Tower project, which was meant to give everyone free, unlimited energy. Tesla's dream of wireless power hasn't come true yet, but scientists are looking into new ways to make it possible. His statements about technology, protecting the environment, and contact worldwide have come true amazingly well. Tesla's impact goes beyond the labs. His name is linked to innovation, as shown by the continued success of Tesla Incorporated, the company he named for electric cars. His talents are honored in museums and shows all over the world, which makes sure that his innovative ideas stay current. Engineers, scientists, and artists are still inspired by his ability to think outside the box. In 2025, Tesla's work is an interesting piece of history and a key factor in shaping the future of technology and energy. His work shows that real talent doesn't change over time and leaves a permanent mark on progress. Thomas Edison, the inventor who lit up the world. Thomas Edison was one of the most productive thinkers in history, and his groundbreaking work in technology and new ideas is still admired today. Edison was born in 1847 and changed many fields with his inventions, including the phonograph, the movie camera, and most popularly, the electric light bulb. He established the first industrial research center in Menlo Park, starting many modern technological advances. In 2025, the Edison Awards, which are given yearly to recognize outstanding creativity, will honor Edison's life and work. These awards will be given to Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, and Michael M. Crow, president of Arizona State University, for their outstanding accomplishments in technology and education in 2025. Edison's impact goes beyond his inventions. Scientists and businesses worldwide are still inspired by how he solved problems and kept going even when things got hard. His famous quote, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 98% perspiration," is still used as a guide by people who want to improve things. Thanks to museums and training programs focusing on his work, Edison's efforts are still helpful today. This inspires new generations of creators. His ideas about energy, communication, and fun have changed our world today, showing his timeless vision. In the year 2025, Edison's memory will not only be kept alive, but also honored. This reinforces his standing as a pioneer whose ideas will continue to light up the future. Theodore Roosevelt, the legacy of a bold and visionary leader. Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th President of the United States, is still remembered as one of the most interesting people in American history. His leadership, progressive policies, and dedication to protecting the environment changed the country in ways that are still felt today in 2025. Roosevelt's desire to preserve natural areas led to the creation of national parks, woods, and animal refuges. These places set the standard for modern environmental protection. His foreign policy, which was widely summed up by the saying, "Speak softly and carry a big stick," made the United States more influential worldwide. The 20th Annual Theodore Roosevelt Symposium will be held on September 25th through the 27th, 2025, to celebrate Roosevelt's life and work. It will examine his love of naval power and how it has shaped the modern world. The Roosevelt East African Heritage Trail is being created by the Theodore Roosevelt East African Sustainable Development Initiative. It is based on Roosevelt's trip to Africa in 1909 and aims to support tourism and protection. Roosevelt's impact goes beyond history books. His democratic ideas still drive politicians and leaders today. Scholars and researchers still look at his policies to see how they can help solve problems in the present day because they show his dedication to social justice, economic change, and environmental protection. In 2025, people not only remembered Roosevelt's influence, but they also took part in it. His vision for a firm and fair society has not changed. Marie Curie, the trailblazing scientist who redefined science. Marie Curie was a pioneering chemist and physicist who is still remembered as one of the most important scientists in history. She was born in 1867 and was the first woman and the only person to win the Nobel Prize in Physics and Chemistry. Her groundbreaking work on radioactivity led to the discovery of polonium and radium, which changed how medicine was done and how scientists thought about the world. Even now, in 2025, Curie's work continues to inspire scientists worldwide. The Marie Sklodowska-Curie Actions, MSCA, Postdoctoral Fellowships 2025 program will give money to new study projects to help experts improve their jobs. The MSCA Co-Fund 2025 plan also wants to improve graduate and postdoctoral programs, making working together easier for people from different fields. Curie did more than make findings. Her work to promote gender equality and science education paved the way for women to work in STEM fields. Museums and other organizations all over the world continue to honor her accomplishments, which makes sure that her influence lives on. Her work in radiation study led to the development of current cancer treatments, showing that her findings are helpful for many years. In 2025, Curie's effect will be remembered and celebrated through worldwide projects encouraging high-quality science. She left behind a legacy that shows how hard work, intelligence, and new ideas can change the future of science. Jesse James, the outlaw who became a legend. The notorious American criminal Jesse James is still one of the most mysterious people in Wild West history. He was born in Missouri in 1847 and fought as a Confederate guerrilla during the Civil War. After the war, he turned to a life of crime. Jesse and his brother Frank formed the James Younger Gang, which was known for robbing banks and trains in dangerous ways. People were fascinated by his adventures and thought of him as similar to Robin Hood, though history records disagree on whether he did help the poor. In 1882, Robert Ford, a member of his gang, killed him, which was a dramatic end to its life as a criminal. In the year 2025, Jesse James is still a fascinating figure. New history studies look at how he affected American culture. The future movie, Jesse James 2025, directed by Brett Bentman, is about his memory. It shows how he tried to find his family's hidden cash while threatened by the Pinkerton Agency, IMDb. Historians are also looking at how his story has changed over time to see what role he played in forming the image of the American frontier. Jesse James will always be remembered as significant in history and popular culture because of the fascinating story of his rebellion, loyalty, and deception. Buffalo Bill Cody, the legendary showman and frontier icon. In 2025, many events and historical remembrances will continue to honor Buffalo Bill Cody, one of the most famous people in the American West. Cody was born in 1846 and became renowned as a scout, buffalo hunter, and showman. He created the famous Buffalo Bill's Wild West show, which went on tour worldwide and changed how people thought about the country. In Cody, Wyoming, where the Buffalo Bill Cody races will be held on September 13, 2025, there will be a half marathon, a 10K, and a 5K. His influence is still strong there. Also, Cody's spirit of adventure lives on at Camp Buffalo Bill, which is near Yellowstone National Park and continues to offer outdoor activities. His memory is also celebrated through shows and talks about how he shaped Western folklore. Historians are still looking at what he did and how his shows changed people's ideas about Native American culture and life on the border. Some people see Cody as a hero, while others don't like how he portrayed Native Americans in his shows. It's impossible to deny that he affected American history. His stories and plays helped shape the myth of the Wild West. In the year 2025, Buffalo Bill Cody's impact will not only be remembered, but also honored. This ensures that his effect lives on in academic research and popular culture. The brave Apache leader Geronimo and his lasting legacy. In Native American history, Geronimo, the famous Apache leader, still symbolizes strength and courage. He fought hard to protect his people from U.S. and Mexican forces, leading risky raids and refusing to be moved. He was born in 1829. He was very dangerous and was known as one of the last great Native American fighters because he could avoid being caught. After years of fighting, Geronimo gave up and turned himself in to U.S. authorities in 1886. This ended the Apache Rebellion. Even though he was in jail, he became famous and attended events like the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair. In 2025, training programs and history exhibits will still be used to celebrate Geronimo's life. Inspired by his spirit of adventure, the Grand Canyons Council 2025 Camp Geronimo Summer Camp gives scouts hands-on experiences in the wilds of Arizona. Scholars are also looking again at his impact on Native American culture and how his leadership affected current indigenous organizations. His story is a potent reminder of the fight for independence and traditional survival. His name has been used in many places, including combat activities, and people are still working to ensure his memory is respected. In 2025, Geronimo's influence is a story from the past and a source of strength for people who fight for indigenous rights and respect. Florence Nightingale, the pioneer of modern nursing. Florence Nightingale, born in 1820, is still one of the most important people in the history of health care. During the Crimean War, she did groundbreaking work that made nursing a recognized field by focusing on cleanliness, patient care, and hospital change. Even in 2025, her memory is remembered through the National Florence Nightingale Nurses Award, which honors nursing workers in India for their excellent work. This prestigious award, which is given every year on her birthday, shows how hard nurses work to improve health care. Nightingale's ideas still influence modern medicine through global efforts that stress the importance of cleanliness and care focused on the patient. Her impact goes beyond hospitals. Her work with statistics and support for healthcare change created the basis for medicine based on facts. Her efforts are honored by museums and training programs worldwide, ensuring her influence lives on. Nightingale's impact is not only remembered in 2025, but also used to solve problems in the present day by healthcare workers and politicians who learned from her experiences. Her dedication to making medical care better continues to lead improvements in nursing education and the way hospitals are run. Florence Nightingale's work shows that kindness, intelligence, and persistence can change an entire field, leaving a lasting mark on healthcare worldwide. Robert E. Lee, the controversial legacy of a Confederate general. Robert E. Lee, born in 1807, is still one of the most controversial people in American history. As the leader of the Confederate Army during the Civil War, his military methods won him praise. However, his ties to the Confederacy and its support of slavery have led to ongoing debates about his impact. In 2025, Lee's influence is still being looked at again, especially in light of Confederate monuments and new readings of history. In some southern states, his birthday is known as Robert E. Lee Day, which is still a point of conflict, and people argue about whether or not it is still relevant today. Historians are still looking into how he led, including his war strategies and personal views. Some consider him a brilliant planner, while others point out that he defended an oppressive system. People are still trying to get rid of Confederate statues and rename organizations that bear his name, which shows how people's ideas about historical figures change over time. In 2025, Lee's impact is discussed outside of academia and affects public policy and education. His work after the war, such as his time as president of Washington College, now Washington and Lee University, is also looked at in the bigger picture of remembering the past and making peace. As the United States continues to think about its past, Robert E. Lee's reputation is still shaped by ongoing historical debate. Ulysses S. Grant, the general who shaped American history. One of the most important people in American history was Ulysses S. Grant, the 18th President of the United States and a key Union general during the Civil War. Born in 1822, Grant became famous for leading the Army to significant wins at Vicksburg and Chattanooga before taking General Robert E. Lee's surrender at Appomattox in 1865. During his presidency in 1869, he worked to protect human rights and ensure that Reconstruction policies were followed. However, there were also many political problems during that time. As of 2025, Grant's legacy is still being looked at again, with new history studies examining his leadership and influence. The 26th annual U.S. Grant Celebration will take place in Georgetown, Ohio from April 24th to 27th. There will be talks about Grant's personal life, war plans, and presidency, giving new insights into his contributions to American history. Scholars are also looking again at how his administration changed America after World War II, mainly how it worked to fight racial injustice. People still read his writings, considered one of the best books ever written by a U.S. president, to learn more about his life and times. In 2025, Grant's impact will not only be recognized, but also studied. This ensures that his gifts to the country will continue to spark conversations about leadership, persistence, and historical memory. Harriet Beecher Stowe, the author who sparked change. Harriet Beecher Stowe was a famous author in the 1800s who greatly impacted American writing and social action. Her 1852 book, Uncle Tom's Cabin, which showed how cruel slavery was, helped start abolitionist groups all over the United States. In 2025, Stowe's influence is still celebrated through literary events and academic talks. A group called The Histories and Futures of Harriet Beecher Stowe will talk about how she saw the past and how she saw the future at the Society for the Study of American Women Writers Conference, which will take place from November 6th through 9th, 2025. The 2025 Power of Voice discussion group is meeting at the Harriet Beecher Stowe House in Cincinnati. The group talked about the role of writing in social justice, with Stowe as the central figure. Scholars are still looking at her work and seeing how her words changed how Americans thought about race and equality. She impacted more than just Uncle Tom's Cabin. Her books and articles also discussed women's rights, education, and morals. Even in 2025, her work is still essential and leads to conversations about how writing can change the world. Stowe was a key figure in American history because she was able to combine stories with action. She showed that words can change societies and fight injustices. P.T. Barnum, the showman who defined entertainment. The famous American showman and businessman P.T. Barnum is still a key figure in the history of theater. He changed the business with his new shows and started the famous Barnum and Bailey Circus called The Greatest Show on Earth. His ability to keep people interested through showmanship and marketing has influenced modern entertainment. Even now, in 2025, Barnum's influence is still being honored at many events and shows. The planned stage show, The Greatest Showman, will be based on the 2017 movie of the same name that was inspired by Barnum's life. It will open in Bristol in 2026 and then move to Broadway. Source: Wikipedia. The Barnum Festival 2025, which takes place every year in Bridgeport, Connecticut, also celebrates his service to the community with parades, music, and activities that the whole family can enjoy. Historians still consider Barnum's effects and how he changed people's ideas about entertainers and shows. Even though he was great at advertising, there are still arguments about how he treated people in his shows. His impact goes beyond the circus. His way of selling and entertaining people is still used as a model for modern theater. In 2025, Barnum's legacy will be recognized and actively involved. This shows that his vision for great entertainment continues to inspire artists, business owners, and viewers worldwide. Emily Dickinson, the enduring influence of a literary icon. Emily Dickinson is still an inspiration to readers and students in 2025. She is one of the most famous writers in American history. Born in 1830, Dickinson changed how poems were written with her unique style, which included strange phrasing and deep themes. Her works, primarily unwritten while she was alive, became famous after she died, solidifying her position as a literary pioneer. In 2025, the Emily Dickinson Museum will honor her memory with the Phosphorescence Contemporary Poetry Series, which will feature known and upcoming writers whose works reflects Dickinson's revolutionary voice. The Tell It Slant Poetry Festival, which will take place from September 15th to 21st, 2025, will also honor her services to writing with readings, talks, and classes. Her themes of nature, death, and identity are still being studied by scholars interested in how she affected modern poems. Her house in Amherst, now a museum, is still popular for book lovers because it shows how she lived and worked as a writer. Dickinson is still important in modern writing because she could capture the complexity of human feeling. In 2025, people will remember her work, showing that her words are timeless. Her impact shows how poems can change how people think, feel, and express themselves artistically. Alfred Nobel, the legacy of innovation and global recognition. Alfred Nobel was a Swedish chemist, engineer, and inventor. He is still remembered as one of the most important people in the history of science and humanity. The inventor of dynamite, born in 1833, Nobel is best known for starting the Nobel Prizes, which are still given to recognize outstanding work in many fields. From October 6, 2025 to October 13, 2025, the Nobel Prize winners will be announced. Winners will be honored for their work in physics, chemistry, health, writing, peace, and economic studies. The 2025 Nobel Peace Prize will be given out in Oslo, Norway, to people or groups that have made a big difference in the fight for peace around the world. Nobel's idea of giving prizes for outstanding work has influenced scientific growth and international relations for over 100 years. His foundation ensures that his money is used to help make progress for everyone. The Nobel Prizes are still a sign of honor that motivates researchers, artists, and organizers worldwide. Nobel's achievements are still celebrated in museums and educational programs, showing his importance to modern innovation. His impact shows that scientific progress and charitable work can go hand in hand, leaving a lasting mark on world progress. In 2025, Nobel's impact will be remembered and honored. This ensures that his idea for honoring greatness will continue to inspire people in the future. Fron Litz, the enduring legacy of a musical virtuoso. Fron Litz, a Hungarian musician and pianist who lived in the 1800s, is still one of the most important people in classical music. His groundbreaking methods and songs continue to influence artists all over the world. In 2025, Litz's memory will be honored at several international events, such as the Fron Litz International Piano Competition, where young musicians play his works. His songs will also be played at the Daheim Festival 2025 in Weingarten, Germany, along with other classical music. His works, like Hungarian Rhapsodies and La Campanella, are still played at concerts and are praised for how well they are written and how deeply they touch people. Litz made many significant additions to music theory, especially when changing thematics and arranging music. He impacted more than just performance. His music education and charity work shaped generations of musicians and players. Liszt's influence is not only remembered in 2025, but also actively involved with as artists and scholars reread his works to grasp his talent fully. He is a key figure in classical music because he always pushes the limits of piano skills and writing. Liszt's influence lives on through concerts, competitions, and academic talks. This shows that his contributions to music are timeless and still essential today. Oscar Wilde, the enduring influence of a literary icon. In 2025, Oscar Wilde's cleverness, social criticism, and timeless works still captivate people. He was an Irish writer, poet, and author. Wilde was born in 1854 and wrote some of the most important books of the late 1800s. His works include The Picture of Dorian Gray and The Importance of Being Earnest. His sharp views about society, morals, and people are still valid today and have inspired writers and thinkers of the future. The Oscar Wilde Awards, which are given yearly to recognize accomplishments in the arts and culture, will honor Wilde's memory in 2025. Kathleen Kennedy, Frank Marshall, John C. Reilly, and Iana Hartwick are among the recipients. Also, academics are still talking about Wilde's complicated life, especially his trials and jail time for acts of gross indecency in 1895, which made him a cultural and political hero. His impact goes beyond writing. His support for individuality and beauty is still felt today when people talk about identity and art. Wilde will go down in literary history as a significant figure because he was able to combine fun with deep social criticism. People not only remember his work, but also use it. This shows that his words have been passed down through the years and still influence current society and thought. Peter Ilyich Tchaikovsky, the timeless influence of a musical genius. The famous Russian musician Peter Ilyich Tchaikovsky is still one of the most famous people in classical music. People worldwide are still enthralled by his works, such as Swan Lake, The Nutcracker, and Symphony No. 6 Pathétique. His memory is remembered through many shows and events in 2025. From February 14 to 23, 2025, the Greek National Opera will perform a dance called Tchaikovsky based on his life and battles. The National Ballet of Canada will also perform The Nutcracker from December 5th to 31st, 2025. This will be the 30th anniversary of the show. His impact goes beyond performance halls. His works are still crucial in music education and ensemble repertoires. Scholars are still looking into his emotional depth and new ways of doing things, especially how he mixed Russian country music with Western orchestral frameworks. His artistic impact is made more complex by his personal life, which was shaped by social forces and inner conflicts. Tchaikovsky's music is known and praised in 2025, showing his talent is timeless. He is a defining figure in classical music because he could use rhythm and harmony to make people feel intense feelings. Tchaikovsky's influence lives on through performances, academic talks, and honors worldwide, motivating artists and listeners. Woodrow Wilson, the legacy of a progressive leader. The 28th President of the United States, Woodrow Wilson, is still significant in American history because he led the country through World War I and tried to change how the world negotiated peace. Wilson was born in 1856 and fought for progressive changes. He helped create the Federal Reserve and the League of Nations, which paved the way for modern international cooperation. In 2025, his impact is still being looked into through scholarly debates and new history studies. The Woodrow Wilson International Center Fellowship Program, 2025 to 2026, allows students to do research that affects policy. This shows Wilson's dedication to scholarly conversation and good government. Even after he left office, he impacted politics and policy. His ideas about promoting global peace and economic regulation are still discussed today. His government was criticized for its race policies, and scholars are still looking into how he changed American and world events. Thanks to museums and training programs focusing on his work, Wilson's accomplishments will continue to be important for future generations of students and politicians. In 2025, Wilson's impact is not only known, but also studied. His ideas about leadership, negotiation, and economic change are still relevant today. His rule teaches how hard it is to run a country and how progressive policies can improve things over time. Booker T. Washington, the educator who shaped American progress. Booker T. Washington was a famous African-American professor, author, and leader who left an indelible mark on American history. He became famous as the head of the Tuskegee Institute, which pushed for practical education to give Black Americans power. He was born into slavery in 1856. His ideas stressed independence, economic growth, and working with white leaders to achieve racial equality. In 2025, Washington's influence is still celebrated through historical talks and training programs. When the Booker T. Washington High School in Tulsa, Oklahoma, is still a center for academic success, and the 2025-2026 school calendar shows that the school is dedicated to helping students grow. The 2025 OSSAA Class 5A Boys State Basketball Championship, which Booker T. Washington High School won, also shows how well the school is doing in sports. Scholars are still figuring out what effect Washington had, especially on his arguments with W.E.B. Du Bois about how to make race advances. His story, Up from Slavery, is still an essential piece of African American writing because it shows how he wanted to educate people and make them financially independent. In 2025, people not only remember Washington's influence, but also use it. This shows that his ideas about education and self-improvement are still relevant and inspiring. His impact shows how important it is to keep going, be a leader, and know that information can change things. Susan B. Anthony, the trailblazer of women's rights. In 2025, Susan B. Anthony, the first woman to fight for women's right to vote and for social change, is still a strong sign of justice and equality. She was born in 1820 and spent her whole life fighting for women's right to vote. She was critical in getting the 19th Amendment passed. Her memory is still remembered through many projects, such as the Susan B. Anthony courtroom dedication at the Monroe County Hall of Justice, which was revealed on March 25, 2025, along with a statue honoring her work. Also, rare papers written by Anthony and fellow suffragist Elizabeth Cady Stanton have shown up on the market for historical items, giving us new information about their work. The 2025 Susan B. Anthony birthday celebration took place in Rochester on February 12th, and the main speaker, Lori Van Dusen, talked about how Anthony has had a lasting impact on women's abilities to become financially independent. Her influence goes beyond history books. Her fight for equal rights for women continues to motivate groups worldwide. Scholars and campaigners repeatedly read her talks and writings to learn from her steadfast dedication to justice. Anthony's impact is remembered and praised in 2025, showing that her fight for equality is still essential. Because of what she did, we can see how persistence and action can help make society more fair. Chief Joseph, the resilient leader of the Nez Perce. Native American history sees Chief Joseph as a model of persistence and tact. He was the respected leader of the Nez Perce tribe. He was born in 1840 and led his people through one of the most challenging times when the U.S. government made them move. His leadership during the Nez Perce War of 1877, when his tribe made an incredible 1,170-mile escape from U.S. forces, shows how smart he was at planning strategies and how much he cared about his people's safety. His famous speech, in which he gave up, "I will fight no more forever," ended his struggle and made him a respected leader forever. In 2025, cultural events and historical remembrances are still held to celebrate Chief Joseph's effect. The 79th annual Chief Joseph Days Rodeo will occur in Joseph, Oregon from July 22nd through 27th, 2025. There will be rodeos, parades, and on July 26, 2025, the Chief Joseph Commemorative Friendship Feast and Dances. The Nez Perce people have strong customs that are being honored at these events. Scholars and researchers are still studying his leadership and how his intentional work affected Native American rights and advocacy. His story is still a strong one of strength, justice, and keeping a culture alive. In 2025, Chief Joseph's achievements in history were honored and praised. This makes sure that they are still essential and inspiring. Henry Ford, the innovator who revolutionized industry. Henry Ford, the innovative American businessman, is still a key player in the history of cars. He changed production by creating the moving assembly line, making cars cheaper and easier for everyone. He was born in 1863. When it came out in 1908, his Model T changed how people got around and paved the way for modern car production. Even in 2025, Ford's heritage will still be honored at several events and shows. Bicycles, Powering Possibilities, which opens at the Henry Ford Museum of American Innovation on May 3, 2025, looks at how transportation has changed over time and how that has affected movement. Also, the Old Car Festival, which will take place on September 6 through 7, 2025, will feature old cars and discuss Ford's contributions to the industry. He impacted more than just cars. His ideas about making factories more efficient changed how things are made around the world. Scholars are still figuring out what effect he had, especially on his controversial ideas and business plans. His efforts are still helpful today, thanks to educational programs and historical talks that honor his memory. In 2025, people will remember Ford's impact and be involved, showing that his ideas still affect modern business. Because he changed how things are made and moved, he will always be remembered as a key figure in technological progress who inspires future engineers and business owners. Queen Victoria, the monarch who defined an era. Queen Victoria was queen from 1837 to 1901 and is still one of the most important people in British history. The time she ruled, the Victorian Age, was a time of economic growth, global development, and cultural changes. In 2025, her impact is still being studied through history talks and shows. From March to September 2025, the Victoria and Albert Museum in London will have a special show called Victoria's Vision: The Art and Influence of a Queen. It will feature things from her rule, like personal letters and royal pictures. The Queen Victoria Society is also planning a conference for June 15, 2025, about how she changed world politics and society. Researchers are still looking at her ties with prime ministers and how she affected laws to figure out what part she played in creating Britain's parliamentary monarchy. She left behind more than just political impact. Her support for scientific projects and arts funding helped Britain's culture and intellectual growth. In 2025, people will remember and talk about Queen Victoria's impact and study it, showing that her rule continues to shape how people talk about history. She is a key person in British history because she was able to handle complicated politics while still being very visible in public. Queen Victoria's influence is still essential and uplifting, thanks to memorials, intellectual talks, and art shows worldwide. William Tecumseh Sherman, the general who redefined warfare. William Tecumseh Sherman was a Union general famous for his effective military plans during the American Civil War. In 2025, historians will still be studying his life. His famous March to the Sea in 1864 was often seen as a total war operation, but experts are now looking at it again and seeing it as a key moment in the freedom of the United States. Somewhere Toward Freedom, Sherman's March and the Story of America's Largest Emancipation, a new book by historian Bennett Parton, examines how Sherman's campaign led to one of the most significant liberation movements in U.S. history. It challenges earlier stories that only saw it as a destructive military operation. The book talks about how thousands of people who had been slaves ran away to join Sherman's army, which caused a massive humanitarian problem that changed the way Reconstruction was done after the war. Also, People are still talking about Sherman's Special Field Order Number 15, which promised freed black families land. This continues to affect talks about payments and historical justice. His impact is still complicated. While he is praised for how well he ran the military, his harsh treatment of Native American groups and policies toward them are still controversial. Sherman's influence on American history goes beyond the fight. In 2025, his effects will be remembered and openly discussed. People still talk about his plans, leadership, and difficult choices about war, freedom, and remembering the past. Louisa May Alcott, the enduring legacy of a literary pioneer. In 2025, Louisa May Alcott, a famous author from the 1800s, still inspires readers and researchers. Her works have influenced generations of writers and feminist ideas. She is best known for Little Women. This year is the 150th anniversary of the publication of Eight Cousins, which was first released in 1875. Its themes of women equality, schooling, and family relationships are being discussed again. The American Literature Association Conference 2025 will occur in Boston from May 21st to 24th. There will be talks about Alcott's effect, such as A Rose Among the Thistles, the sesquicentennial consideration of Louisa May Alcott's Eight Cousins. The Louisa May Alcott Society also holds talks about how Alcott's studies have changed in the 21st century, focusing on how she affected writing and social change. Orchard House, where she grew up, is still popular for book lovers, with educational programs and guided trips focusing on her life and works. Scholars still look at her contributions and see how her works changed Americans' thoughts about women's roles and freedom. In 2025, people will not only remember Alcott's work, but they will also do things related to it. This shows that her words are timeless. Because she can tell stories and make social comments simultaneously, she will go down in literary history as a significant figure who inspires readers and writers of today and tomorrow. Lewis Carroll, the enduring legacy of a literary visionary. In 2025, fans and academics are still fascinated by Lewis Carroll, the famous English author and scientist. Carroll's imaginative stories and clever use of words have left a lasting mark on literature. He is best known for Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. His writings are still crucial to literary talks and have been used as inspiration for movies, TV shows, academic studies, and artistic versions. The Lewis Carroll Society of North America is holding its spring conference on April 26, 2025. The theme is A Field Guide to Wonderland and Beyond, Volume 2. This event will examine how Carroll has affected current math, theory, and stories. Additionally, the Lewis Carroll Society in the UK keeps spreading the word about his work through books and teaching events. Carroll greatly affected children's literature, and scholars are now looking at how his books question traditional stories and encourage kids to think creatively. His impact goes beyond books. His work on puzzles, reasoning, and photography is still studied by academics. Museums and literary groups worldwide honor his work, ensuring that the worlds he created will always be necessary. In 2025, Carroll's work is known and actively used. This shows that his ability to combine magic with intellectual depth continues to inspire readers, writers, and thinkers of today and tomorrow. He left a legacy showing how creativity can change writing and society. Andrew Carnegie, the legacy of philanthropy and innovation. The Scottish-American businessman and humanitarian Andrew Carnegie is still a major player in the history of education and social growth worldwide. Carnegie, born in 1835, built a steel company that changed American business before giving his money to good causes. In 2025, his influence is still strong, thanks to programs that help with writing, study, and education. Percival Everett for James and Kevin Fardico for A Walk in the Park, the true story of a spectacular misadventure in the Grand Canyon, won the 2025 Andrew Carnegie Medals for excellence in fiction and nonfiction. These awards recognized great creative efforts. The Andrew Carnegie Fellows Program 2025 also aims to reduce political division in the U.S. by giving $200,000 to researchers looking for ways to bring people together. Carnegie's impact lasts beyond his lifetime. His work with libraries, schools, and peace projects motivates people worldwide to give generously. His goal of making information easy to find is still essential, and organizations that bear his name continue to support his dedication to intellectual progress. In 2025, people will remember and be involved with Carnegie's influence. This shows that his ideas of kindness and new ideas still influence society today. His work shows how charity can improve things by supporting education, study, and cultural development. Karl Marx, the revolutionary thinker who continues to shape political discourse. Karl Marx was a philosopher, economist, and rebel in the 1800s. He is still one of the most critical people in political thought. In 2025, his ideas about class warfare, capitalism, and socialism are still being discussed in academia and worldwide. This year's 2025 Marx Oration took place on March 16th at Highgate Cemetery in London. Cuban Ambassador Ismara Vargas Walter and CPI-M Politburo member Ashok Diwali gave talks emphasizing Marx's importance in the current fights for economic justice. Also, Marx's contributions to political economy are being looked at again, especially his critique of capitalism in Das Kapital. His ideas about historical materialism and surplus value are still fundamental when discussing workers' rights and how to distribute wealth. The World Policy Hub keeps looking into Marx's effect on democratic socialism and revolutionary communism, focusing on how he affected modern government. There are still arguments about how to apply Marxist ideas, but his works continue to inspire organizations for workers' rights and social justice. Marx's ideas about making society more fair are still important today, as shown by his influence being recognized and actively worked on. People are still talking about his ideas about economic systems, how classes work, and the future of world politics. Claude Monet, the master of Impressionism and his enduring influence. The French artist Claude Monet was a genius and is still one of the most famous people in art history. He was one of the founders of the Impressionist movement, and his new ways of painting light, color, and mood changed how artists did it forever. In 2025, Monet's influence will be celebrated worldwide through art shows and other cultural events. From March 7th to June 8, 2025, the Kyoto City Kyocera Museum of Art will host Monet, the Water Lilies. The show will include about 50 works, including 7 being shown for the first time in Japan. This show gives people a unique chance to understand Monet's ideas by showing his later works, which show how he thought about himself and grew as an artist. Furthermore, Monet's house and gardens in Giverny will return on April 1, 2025, letting people see the scenes that inspired his works. Monet's contributions to art are still being studied by scholars, especially his skill at combining abstract ideas with beautiful nature scenes. His skills are still crucial in art education and modern art practices, so he wasn't just influential in museums. Monet's influence is not only remembered, but also honored in 2025. This shows that his ability to catch brief moments in time continues to inspire artists and fans today. One thing that his work shows is how art has the power to change how we think and feel. Leonardo da Vinci, the timeless genius who continues to inspire. The Renaissance genius, Leonardo da Vinci, is still seen as one of the most important people in art, science, and building. His original works, like The Last Supper and Mona Lisa, continue to amaze people worldwide. In 2025, his memory will be honored with several art shows and cultural events. When it opens in late fall 2025 in Pueblo, Colorado, the Leonardo da Vinci Museum of North America will have life-size machine models based on his plans. This will give guests a unique look into his creative mind. Also, the Da Vinci immersive art experience in South Florida will show more than 50 of his works through interactive technology and video displays from November 2, 2024 to April 2025. His impact goes beyond museums. His scientific findings and anatomy studies still impact current research. His contributions to engineering are being looked at again by scholars, especially his ideas for flying machines and hydraulic systems. His skill at combining art and science makes him relevant to modern talks about creation and new ideas. In 2025, people will not only remember Da Vinci's work, but they will also do things related to it. This shows that his genius is timeless. His work shows that people are naturally curious, motivating new artists, scientists, and thinkers to explore the limits of what they know and can imagine. Charles Darwin, the father of evolution and his enduring influence. Charles Darwin, a pioneering scientist, is still one of the most important people in the history of science. His critical work on evolution, especially his idea of natural selection, still impacts biology teaching and study. Darwin's heritage is honored by Darwin Days 2025, an international event held from February 12th to February 15th that includes talks about the development of humans, the biology of whales, and new ways to teach evolution. International Darwin Day, which is celebrated every year on February 12th, also honors his work. This day encourages people to think about science and be curious. Darwin's influence is still being studied by scholars who look again at his notes from the HMS Beagle journey and his famous book On the Origin of Species. His ideas are still fundamental in biology, environmental studies, and culture today. Museums and universities worldwide hold exhibits and talks about his findings, which shows that his impact is still felt today. When he came up with them, people disagreed with them, but now they are essential to scientific research. In 2025, Darwin's influence is known and actively involved. This shows that his ideas about understanding life's complexity still inspire researchers and minds today. His work shows how important it is to observe, think critically, and be intellectually brave to change how we understand the natural world.
If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon